I'm Leah Harrison, 25 years old. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that returning home from my first successful business trip would mean finding my entire life packed into garbage bags. The black plastic bulged with my belongings, lined up like tombstones at the front gate. My mother stood there, arms crossed, my 3 siblings flanking her like soldiers. Their faces held no warmth, only cold resolve. The smile I'd carried since landing vanished the moment Mom spoke those cutting words. You're 25 now. It's time for you to leave. Before I go on, drop a comment where are you watching from? Hit like and subscribe to follow this journey of family betrayal and unexpected resilience. Soon. One of my mother's friends who worked as a flight attendant spotted me cleaning in the airport lounge and instantly recognized me. She greeted me with a warmth I hadn't felt in months. Her curiosity got the better of her, and when she asked why I was working there, I told her everything about losing the inheritance, the fight with my family, and how I was just trying to survive. She listened intently, then leaned in and said something that would change everything. They're boarding a flight to New York right now. Your father and brother are in the VIP lounge. I froze. My heart began pounding, the sound deafening in my ears. The very people who had destroyed my life were just a few steps away, sipping champagne. Blissfully unaware I was so close. Without thinking, I asked her to get me into the lounge. She hesitated, clearly worried about a confrontation, but eventually she agreed. I slipped inside, my heart still racing, and there they were, my father and brother laughing together like they didn't have a care in the world. They hadn't noticed me yet, but I could feel the anger building inside me, hot and uncontrollable. Part of me wanted to scream, to tell everyone in that room the truth about what they had done, but instead I walked straight toward them, calm on the outside, a storm raging within. When my father finally looked up and saw me, his smile vanished. My brother's face paled. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, in the most composed voice I could manage, I said, "Enjoying your trip. Must be nice. Traveling with stolen money." The entire lounge went quiet. People turned their heads. My father tried to wave me off, muttering something about causing a scene, but I didn't care. I wasn't backing down, not this time. My brother leaned back in his seat, smirking like he always did when he thought he had the upper hand. You're still bitter. Move on, Lydia. It's pathetic. I stared at him, feeling that familiar sting in my chest butt this time. I didn't shrink back. Pathetic? No. What's pathetic is stealing from your own family and then parading around like you earned it. A few people in the lounge actually gasped. My father's face turned red, not from shame, but from the humiliation of being called out in public. He muttered under his breath, "You've embarrassed yourself enough. Leave." But I didn't move. I took a step closer, lowering my voice, so only they could hear. The difference between you and me is that I can rebuild what I lost. You'll always need someone else's work, someone else's money to stand tall. For a second, my brother's smirk faltered, my father's jaw clenched, and I realized, standing there, that I had already won, not because I had money or status, but because I no longer needed their approval. I turned and walked out without another word, leaving them to sit in that silence I knew would follow them long after their champagne glasses were empty. By the time I stepped outside, the air felt lighter. For the first time since losing everything, I wasn't carrying their betrayal like a weight on my shoulders. I was free, truly free. Asterisk, in the weeks that followed, I kept working at the airport, but something in me had shifted. I wasn't just earning a paycheck anymore. I was building something of my own. Each long shift, each tired morning felt less like punishment and more like proof that I could stand on my own 2 feet. One day, as I watched planes lift into the sky, I realized that the life I'd imagined for myself didn't have to end just because my family had taken what was mine. I could still create IT piece by piece, choice by choice, without owing anyone anything. I stopped waiting for apologies that would never come. I stopped hoping they'd see the truth. Instead, I started focusing on what I could control: my work, my future, my peace. Because the thing about losing everything is that it forces you to discover what you're really made of. And I discovered I was made of steel. So, to anyone who's been betrayed, cut off, or left behind, remember this: your worth doesn't come from what's given to you. It comes from what you build for yourself when no one is watching. And sometimes the greatest freedom you'll ever feel is when you finally stop needing their seat at the table and start building your own. Asterisk, asterisk, months later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that my brother's brilliant venture was already struggling. Investors were pulling out, deadlines were being missed, and the cracks in his perfect image were starting to show. I didn't feel the rush of satisfaction I thought I might. There was no triumphant victory lap, no need to gloat. Instead, there was just a quiet understanding that life had a way of balancing the scales on its own. The difference was I no longer needed to be part of their downfall to feel whole. My success was no longer tied to their failures. I had my own plans, my own momentum, and most importantly, my own peace. Looking back now, I realize the night I walked out of that retirement dinner was the night I stopped being their discarded daughter and became the author of my own story. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: sometimes life's greatest betrayals aren't the end of your story. They're just the painful chapter that forces you to finally take the pen and write the rest. Yourself. Asterisk, the breaking point. Despite the tension, I'd chosen to live at home after college. My entry-level marketing salary barely covered Chicago's rent, and staying let me save and pay off student loans faster. You can stay as long as you need, Mom had said when I moved back. Family supports family. But her support came with conditions unspoken, but always there. I paid rent, bought groceries, handled chores, drove her to appointments, and listened to endless complaints about neighbors, coworkers, and sometimes even my siblings. Never to their faces, of course. My siblings still treated me like the baby my opinions dismissed as immature. You'll understand when you have more life experience, Jackson would say, ignoring that I'd lived alone through college and traveled internationally, experiences he never had. The New York trip that changed everything, then came my big break. A business trip to New York to present a campaign to a major client. 4 weeks. I rehearsed, hoping the success might finally earn Mom's approval. The presentation went perfectly. The client loved it. My boss praised my talent. And I even bought small gifts for my family, hoping to bridge the gap between us. But when I got home, my Belongings were in trash bags at the curb. You're 25, Mom said coldly. Time to go. No warning. No discussion. Just an ambush. Rebuilding from nothing with nowhere to go, I crashed with my college roommate, Zoe. That first night, curled up on an unfamiliar bed surrounded by garbage bags, I cycled through shock, grief, and rage. But slowly, I rebuilt. I found a tiny studio, got a promotion, and learned to stand on my own. Therapy helped me see the toxic patterns I'd grown up with. Friends became my chosen family. 6 months later, Mom's desperate texts started flooding and she'd lost everything in a scam and needed help. The irony wasn't lost on me. The hardest lesson I helped Erbit on my terms. No moving in. No guilt. Just boundaries. For the first time, she saw me as an equal. I'm proud of you, she finally said, not for my success, but for who I'd become. It mattered, but not as much as it once would have. Because now I knew my worth wasn't tied to her approval. Your turn. Have you ever faced a betrayal that forced you to find your strength? How did you rebuild? Share your story below. And if this resonated, don't forget to like and subscribe. Sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Asterisk.